Sacramento. I am JC. This is your host for the Weekly Context. Today, we're going to switch gears yet again. And today, we're going to take a trip down into the arts, and we're going to talk about specifically theater here in Sacramento, in the Sacramento area. Our group today is going to be Teatro Nagual. I have the pleasure of having two wonderful people here in the studio today. I have Richard Falcone, who is executive director and founder of Teatro Nagual, along with his advisor and actress for Teatro Nagual, Alexis Arriaga. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sacramento.
Wonderful. And Richard is a 40-year IT professional who is the executive director of Teatro Nagual. He studied with the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco and also studied with Piccoli Theater in Seattle, Washington, and also Playhouse West, and attended school at Cal State East Bay. So, Richard, let's start with you, and let's talk a little bit about what the genesis and what the impetus was for Teatro Nagual.
Wow. Okay. Well, the genesis, I think, started for me. I mean, I've always been involved and was trained professionally, as you pointed out, there was a number of great places, but I learned American-style theater. And the way to act is American musical theater. Musical theater has always been important to me. So in 2006, my good friend Ray Tatter from California Stage here in Sacramento, over there at 25th and R, asked me to co-direct with him a new musical about the life of Cesar Chavez and the creation of the United Farm Workers Movement. That musical changed my life. It taught me that I could do shows that were relevant to our community, about the heroes like Cesar Chavez that we could relate to, and actually put me in touch with my culture in ways that I could not have imagined.
That's phenomenal. And I know I've seen some of your plays because you've had an opportunity to share some of your work, and it's original work too, right? Because I know that Cesar Chavez skit, that's something that you created.
No, actually it was created by a dear friend of mine by the name of Julie Shannon. Okay. Julie Shannon was a great storyteller, could create musicals that were just incredible in nature and always about social justice type of subject matter, like Cesar Chavez, like the Chicago race riots that took place in the turn of the century. Yeah. She just found musical theater a great way to be able to do that. So when she came up with this show, she gave it to Ray Tatter. Ray Tatter said, this fits in with California history. Let's do it. Richard, can you help? I said yes, and we were off and running.
And what made you decide to keep running with that, though?
Because I found out Sacramento was sorely lacking in its ability to be able to do relevant theater for our community. Now, don't get me wrong. Manuel Pickett is a dear friend of mine. He mentored me through so many things with his Chicano theater that he did out of Sac State, many of the shows that he did there at Sac State. So when Manuel broke loose into the Sacramento region, he then brought some theater that just amazed me, and I said, I want to be just like him. So I took off with things like Let the Eagle Fly, Frida Kahlo, other things that I worked through with him, and to expand out the Latinx experience for theater here in Sacramento.
Amazing. And with us also today is, like I mentioned, Alexis Arriaga, who's a native of Corpus Christi, and she's been doing theater since she was 11 years old. Recently, she graduated from McGeorge Law School and is studying for the bar. So tell us, Alexis, how all that experience, everything you've done so far, is informing your role as advisor for Teatro Nagual.
Okay, so like you said, I am from Corpus Christi, Texas, so I am from a different community, and just growing up, I went through my own experiences as far as also seeing the lack of representation in my community for, Latino actors and actresses, and so I wanted to be a forefront runner and be able to represent my community well. So when I moved here to California, I met with Richard at a casting event. We exchanged information, and we quickly realized that we aligned in a lot of ways as far as our passion for art and for theater, but mostly bringing theater to the community so that the community will get involved and engaged. And my experience through law has helped with that. It's helped me, be more organized as far as community organization and just, logistical things. But mostly my experience, I would say, just helps the passion move forward and helps our message spread throughout Sacramento.
That's terrific, because I know you guys have been around doing many things. I saw a skit on Cesar Chavez. I saw a skit done on environmental justice. And I know so when I mentioned that you do some original work, like your work, Richard, right, with the people needed to vote, and you did that skit.
Absolutely. The California Voters' Choice Act.
Thank you.
I've partnered with United Latinos now for quite a while, and I love that organization. Their passion to try to make life better here within the community of Sacramento by pointing out some of the disparities that are out there, whether they are in voter education, environmental justice, fill in the blank in there, has just been amazing. And when they partnered and said, Richard, we want you to bring arts to that, it reminded me of what Luis Valdez did with Teatro Campesino, when he would go out into the fields and bring the message of Cesar Chavez to the people. And through that type of theater, through that type of art, we were able to promote civic engagement.
It was a huge aspect of that movement, actually.
Oh, it was a huge aspect of it. You got things like, because Cesar learned that when you brought the art, people would come for the art, and they would listen to the message and then take part in it.
So up to this point, what would you say is your greatest success thus far?
I've got to say still the greatest success was in Let the Eagle Fly. And the reason why I say that is because so far I've had a chance to do that 3 times. Here in Sacramento in 2006, Chula Vista with my friend Bill Virchis at Southwest College there in 2008, with the Chavez family, with the Chavez Family Vision nonprofit out of San Jose, California in 2010. And it made a difference in the lives of the people who saw it, the actors who portrayed Cesar Chavez, Richard Chavez, Dolores Huerta, Fred Ross, all the great organizers of our time. And they said, wow, they never thought they would be able to do a show like this.
It's amazing. So to give you a little example, I vaguely remembered who Cesar Chavez was when I was a kid. That is a while ago, but it was actually contemporaneous when Cesar Chavez was still around and doing a lot of his work. And I was really ignorant of who Cesar Chavez was. And it took me going to university really to understand who he was and what he was doing. And again, contemporaneously, he was doing one of his final hunger strikes in the mid-90s, late 90s, when I was finishing up my studies.
Oh, don't feel too bad. We were at an event actually for United Latinos, and Dolores Huerta was there. And I see all this group of people rushing over to her, and I ignorantly ask and very shamefully ask Richard, who is that? And he says, that's Dolores Huerta. How do you not know? And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm learning, so don't feel bad.
No, that's true. It's true, right? It's almost as if we're there are pockets that are removed from the zeitgeist in the Latino community or in communities of color where those kinds of people actually are still making the efforts to push forward and the agenda to empower these communities.
Absolutely, and that's what art does for us. When you take a look at what the Royal Chicano Air Force did for Cesar Chavez during the day and what they continue to try to put out there in Chicano Park in San Diego with their mural art, in Sacramento with their mural art, there were so many things that were out there, and it gave people a chance to say, hey, what is that? I want to know more about that. They would go learn it, and then with that, they would become civically engaged. The National Endowment for the Arts has a whole section of how arts can bring civic engagement, not just by people of color being exposed to the arts, but in my opinion, by having people of color actually be part of the arts creation itself. It makes a difference in their lives.
Yeah, and I'm kind of reminded, too, that, just theater in general has a great history of pushing an agenda, if you will. And I think about when about the book, The Grapes of Wrath that John Steinbeck wrote. But the biggest impact was when they made the movie out of it. And millions of people who wouldn't pick up a book ordinarily spent the time to actually understand the plight of the folks who were emigrating here in the United States from Oklahoma. At the time during the Great Depression. That's a great example.
Right. And just going with that as well, exactly what you said. I mean, there are people that will go to a play, at a local theater here. But what's great about us is that we put on productions in places and areas that normally you wouldn't see arts. And so maybe, at a voter forum or something like that. So the everyday person can go to this free event and see art. And on top of that, it's educational on something very important in their community.
Fantastic. So, Richard, let's get back to the name. What does Teatro Nagual? What is, I think teatro is Spanish for theater, but what does Nagual mean, and where did you get the inspiration for that name?
Well, that inspiration actually came from my wife, Barbara. She and I have both read the teachings of Don Miguel Ruiz with the Four Agreements. And in the Four Agreements, she pointed out to me that in there he talks about the Nagual. He talks about the Nagual and the Tatal. The Tatal being the stars, and the Nahual being the light between the stars. Now, along with that, if you take a look at the teachings of Carlos Castañeda, he talks about the spirit animal within us, the shapeshifters that would go from human into being these animal spirits. That's exactly what an actor does. So you tie these teachings of Carlos Castañeda, if the indigenous people, to the spiritual teachings of someone like Don Miguel Ruiz and the Nahual, and this notion that there is no darkness, that there is only light. And you tie that together and you come to a point in time, again from his book, that says when scientists, educators, and artists came together to share knowledge. And that's what we do today with groups like United Latinos, when we do that with other groups that are educational out of Sac State, and we do that with other art organizations. We are truly educators, scientists, and artists coming together to share knowledge and make the lives better for our people.
So what kind of folks make up your troupe? Because now I'm really fascinated by the makeup. Give me some for instances, and we don't have to use last names, but we can definitely use first names.
I want to take you, for example, through one of the last shows we did, another musical by the name of, it was called Caesar and Reuben, written by Ed Begley Jr. I had an opportunity to meet Ed personally, and he really jumped in with both feet when we said we wanted to do this musical of yours here at Grant High School in Sacramento in the Del Paso region. We used kids, students, actors who had never had any experience before, and we trained them on the fly to become part of this music. I want to tell the story of one of them who's become such a great inspiration for me. There's a lady here in town by the name of Elsa Romo. Elsa Romo is a great activist, and she is a great entrepreneur. She came to me and she said, Richard, I have this young man here. He's gay, he's black, he's Mexican, he's white, and he feels like he has no home. Can you find a place for him? And I said, yes. That young man went on to graduate, continue on to American River, portrays and stars in some of the shows that I do today, and he is just a powerhouse of a performer. Those are the type of people we want to embrace. Yes, quality matters. That's for the B Streets. That's for the Cap Stages and the Sacramento theater companies. That's for the traditional theater. But when we can allow people who have never had the experience before to actually be part of the creation of the arts. I take people from all walks of life and say, I don't care about your experience. Come join me. And they love the experience. It inspires them, and they go on to bigger and greater things.
Fantastic. Who have you had someone that's been able to accomplish that besides this young man?
There was a young girl. I remember her when we were doing Let the Eagle Fly in 2006. Uh-huh. She was someone with a little bit of experience, played piano, sang beautifully. That little girl today is a graduate of Wellesley College.
Amazing.
She is still performing her own music. She is married, living with her husband in Austin, Texas. And I can say honestly that little girl is someone that I inspired, that inspired me, and has grown on to do wonderful things as a young Latina in our world today.
Right, and because that's a huge thing. I think that's something we I think in our community, maybe in our culture, we kind of neglect to nurture those artists and really support them, because I think the pragmatic needs of our community sometimes get prioritized over these inclinations where we consider it kind of as a luxury, and it's not something we can afford to do.
No, right? You're absolutely right. And I'm going to talk about Alexis here for just a moment, because when I went to that California Film Foundation event at Carol's Books there in Del Paso, a staple that's been there in African-American books for a long time, and I saw what the California Film Foundation was doing with Carol's Books, and I saw Alexis come across that stage, I said, whoa, that girl's got something. Then I come to find out she's a student of law. She's a law graduate. She's studying for the bar. Oh my gosh, how much more intelligent can you get? And then on top of that, to see the talent that she displayed as an artist, to know that with her brain and her heart touching on the logic and the art, she was going to go far. And that's why I wanted her on my team, because not only is she a great talent, but as a law student, she keeps me honest.
Yeah, something completely important, especially as we go forward in the community. So, Alexis, I understand that when you were there that day, the competition was fierce.
That's right. It was a casting call for runway models, which I am 5'1", so you can understand why I was a little nervous.
Nice. Awesome. And how did you fare in that competition?
Well, let's just say I didn't get casted, but I'm glad that I got Richard out of it, because then it brought me into Teatro Nagual, which honestly brought me much more experience and a lot more things that I would not have imagined.
Terrific. So let's we're going to take a break here, and we're going to come back, and then we'll talk a little bit about how other folks can get involved, just like you, Alexis. And I know, Richard, you're always looking for more talent. And we're also going to talk about some of the upcoming things here you have. So this is a quick reminder that you're listening to KUBU 96.5 FM. This is the voice of Sacramento. Besides being heard on the radio, cable, TV, or computer, our programs can be heard in an even easier way now. There's a KUBU app for your phone. Download KUBU 96.5 FM from the Apple App Store for your iPhone and iPad, or from the Google Play Store for Android and other devices. It's free. What else do you want? Come on, let's download it today. Once the KUBU 96.5 FM app is installed, it's just one button to listen to the KUBU from anywhere in the world. Easier than ever to take the KUBU with you, and thanks for listening to the voice of Sacramento. You are listening to KUBU 96.5 FM.
Smile, that smile, you make me want to stick around for a good long while. But my chances are slim to none, 'cause you're a girl that likes to have her
20 from 10 a.m. to 12:30 at St. Philomene Catholic Church in Sacramento County. We're going to invite candidates running for Supervisorial District Council 3, City Council District 2 and 4, and Twin Rivers School District 7. For questions, call us at 510-559-0310 or go to our website at www.unitedlatinos.org.
Hi, this is your host, JC, also known as Julio, of The Weekly Context. The Weekly Context is a show dedicated to providing context to issues in our daily life, specifically Northern California, the Bay Area, and the Sacramento region. As a part of that effort, it is our desire to highlight community events, offerings, and or topics. We make public service announcement time available for you and the good works and celebrations throughout the entire Northern California region. If you would like to highlight your event, celebration, or group, give the Weekly Context a call. Let's talk about getting you on the air. Space is limited, so give us a call. Our number is 916-572-4144. You can leave a voicemail, or you can also write us at theweeklycontext@gmail.com. That's theweeklycontext@gmail.com. We're back with Teatro Nagual. With us again today are the Executive Director, Richard Falcon, and also Alexis Arriaga, Advisor and Actress of Teatro Nagual. So, Richard, one of the things we teased right before we heard those wonderful announcements was that we wanted to let folks know how they could also get involved if they have an inclination to participate with Teatro Nagual.
Well, right now, for example, we are looking for young kids, 7 through 12, to be part of our new play that we are doing about Bishop Gallegos, the Obispo del Barrio. And the play is called Burnt Tortillas, coming up here in the March timeframe. So if you have children, boys and girls, between the age of 7 and 12, you need to contact me, and I'll tell you how to do that directly.
How can they get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of me at this following number, because my number is an open book. Area code 916-549-3355. 841. You can also reach me through direct messaging on Facebook, either through finding me directly on my own private, which is Richard Falcon, or through Teatro Nagual on our Facebook page as well. Additionally, we are looking for 20-year-olds to portray the lowrider culture back from the time here in Sacramento back in the 70s and 80s. So if you are a young person between 20 and 30 who wants to portray some of the lowrider culture, contact me as well. We need men and women for that show.
So, and we're talking about folks who have experience, who maybe did theater in college or high school.
Not necessarily.
No?
Not necessarily. I am open to anyone who wants the experience. We will train
That's
you.
terrific.
We will make sure you don't look bad. If you have experience, great. That's even a plus on there. But I want to offer to our people everywhere the opportunity to take place in something like this, like a relevant play about Bishop Gallegos and the work he did here in Sacramento for the Latino community.
So, Alexis, you've been doing this since you were 11. Would you say this is kind of like a gateway drug?
Yes, definitely. My first show was a musical, and I just wanted to do them for the rest of my life. Well, not musicals, but just theater in general.
What was the musical that you were in?
It was Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. I was
I
part
know
of the
that.
kids
Yeah.
chorus. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what, again, you were asking for some talent, but I know you have a couple of items, Richard, that are upcoming. So why don't you share that with us so folks out there can actually attend these and see, hey, yeah, I want to be a part of this. I really dig this. Or
Oh, yeah.
I want to support this.
Absolutely. So coming up February 8th with the Voter Education Forum that's being done by United Latinos at St. Philomene's Church, we are going to be doing our comedy sketch about Measure G. Measure G is a very highly contested measure here in Sacramento. We are right now completing our writing on that. A wonderful group of comedy writers, Betsaida Lebron and Teo Morgan, are helping me get that written. Alexis will be portraying that along with a young lady out of Fairfield by the name of Quinn, and they're going to be presenting that at the forum to give a great theatrical, fun Saturday Night Live type of performance about Measure G.
So what role does Alexis have in Measure G, Alexis?
From what I heard so far, because I haven't read the script, but I'm
come on
pretty
now.
sure I'm going to be playing a little girl, which honestly isn't that far-fetched because I do act like a child sometimes. So should be fun.
All right, so Richard, what, or maybe Alexis too. I mean, it doesn't have to be just you, but what's the next thing on the plate? Because I know there's like two other things. Something happening at Crocker as well?
Absolutely. Letters from the Border. Going to be a bilingual play called, Cartas de la Frontera, also again Letters from the Border, being done at the Crocker May 17th. This is a bilingual English language, then followed by a Spanish language performance of a play about immigration, the effects of immigration on our community by telling humanizing stories about the impacts that immigration has.
And I know that we have the big one coming up, which is Birth Tortillas. Why don't you tell us a little more about that?
That's one we just talked about with the Bishop Gallegos play. Again, that's playing on March 14th and 15th at the Sierra 2 Community Theater. You can find tickets online at brownpapertickets.com just by searching on Burnt Tortillas. The event at the Crocker, though one day only, is open free to the public. The Crocker, in their great generosity, has done that on a free museum day, so anyone who can come will be able to come for free.
And you are on Facebook. I can follow you there and get more info.
Facebook, Twitter, and of course you can always reach out to me at that email address I gave earlier. I think I gave that.
Why don't you
email.
give it to us right now?
Yes, let me do it. It's my name, Richard Falcon, Falcon. You could say Falcon too, especially if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan. But on you could be, again, Richard Falcon at att.net.
But your team's not representing this year, man.
Well, come on. Someday they will.
So, I really want to say, Richard, your group has really added to the scene here in Sacramento. And I know we wanted to talk a little bit about this, but real quick, I know that we'll probably have you on again on the show. How do you cooperate? Do you cooperate with some of the other folks here in town, like Teatro Espejo, or even like the big guys, the B Street Theater?
Absolutely. I can tell you one of the things that B Street is doing is opening up their doors to us. They are giving us really, really low-cost space opportunities to be able to perform, do fundraisers, do readings. They are a fabulous organization. I've actually also submitted a new work to Capitol Stage to see if they want to start doing Latino-based theater there. It is time that we are represented within the theater community here in Sacramento. As I say, Manuel Pickett has been doing a great job. Don't get me wrong. I love Manuel and everything he's doing. I want to push through my influence of being a police commissioner, of being on many task forces, of being a community organizer, and an artivist in opening up the doors for people like Alexis and others to perform, for people to join us with the typical Eurocentric type of theater like a Cap Stage or a B Street, and we're going to get there.
Terrific. Thank you, Richard, again. And thank you, Alexis, for joining us. I appreciate your time, and I thank you for being here at the Weekly Context. If you've missed any part of today's show, or if you just want to catch it again or get some more information, you can find all that information by following us on Facebook and Twitter at Weekly Context. Again, at Weekly Context on Facebook and Twitter. And we will be available there. So give it a listen also on YouTube and SoundCloud. We'll look forward to that. Sacramento, have a great day.